Welcome back to the Fit Hippie Dad YouTube channel and Spotify podcast at Fit Hippie Dad. My name is Scott. I'm beyond grateful that you are checking out my channel today. And today is about my fit journey, specifically the physical part. That's what we'll focus on today, at least the beginning of it. If you checked out the first video, also in podcast form, I mentioned that being fit is much more than being physically fit. It's about being physically, mentally, and spiritually fit. It's about being sober-minded. I will touch on those aspects of my life in greater detail in another video. But today is about the physical journey, up until my hip replacements, the first one at least. And so there is a hippie part of this journey, and that's going to be a major focus because without that hippie journey, that motivation to change my life, I wouldn't be here today. Let's go back to my childhood. Let's start there. I was just a normal kid in the 1970s. I played outside. Can you imagine that? And watched TV. Just a few channels, if you can imagine that now. And again, outside playing sports with the neighborhood kids. And from what I can remember, I was tall for my age. I'm not fat or heavy or thin, just normal, maybe athletic, I guess you could say. And in sixth grade, I was the tallest kid in class. But by high school, maybe sophomore year, not so much. I stopped growing height-wise in sixth grade. I remember being in pretty good shape again, high school, not heavy, not thin, normal, athletic, I guess you could say. But I gained a lot of weight in my junior year from what I can remember. And I was always good, even then, ignoring the scale. Just don't weigh yourself. You can even be good at fooling yourself with the clothes you wear, deluding yourself into thinking that you aren't gaining weight. I think I reached over 200 pounds between junior and senior year, and it shocked me. So I lost weight. It was about 30 pounds. And honestly, I don't remember how I did it. I was young, so I did it. That was the start of about a 10-year journey of up and down weight, having issues with my weight, until about 27. So now I'm in college, and for the first couple of years, weight really didn't fluctuate from what I can remember, but I was gaining weight. I just wasn't weighing myself. And by senior year, it was definitely way over 200 pounds again. How? That part was easy. I could and still eat a lot. Well, let me share some examples. So a typical example was I worked at Jewel, which is a major grocery chain in the Chicago area. And I pop a pizza in the oven when I get home from work, sometimes midnight. And I'd eat the whole thing. I may or may not have had dinner, but I would still have that pizza. And there were times more than once that I would buy foot-long subs from Subway and eat all three at like midnight. They were like $1, $3 or $4 at the time, so I'd have three. It was crazy, but I did it. It happened. And so now I'm out of college. It's 1992. I get out, and a buddy and I decided to take a road trip to San Diego. And I met a woman there. And about a month later, I went back to visit. And she looks at me, she's like, wow, you gained a lot of weight. You don't want to hear that from a woman, but I heard it, and I was still in denial. I knew my shorts were tight, but no, I wasn't heavy. It was her, not me. Well, now I'm working, right? I get a job, and I'm still gaining weight. But again, not weighing myself. Still eating a lot. I remember going to lunch, getting 5 double cheeseburgers from McDonald's, eating all 5. Really? They were $1 in my mid-20s. I did try to lose a little bit of weight. I went to a family reunion, but I gained it all back. And back on the McDonald's, I remember when I'd have 2, and I'm thinking, hey, I'm doing really well, 2 double cheeseburgers. So now I want to touch on my family a little bit. Is there a genetic component to this? My family is my immediate family. They are overweight. If not overweight, they are morbidly obese. My dad's top weight was 422 at 6 foot. Mine was 248. Luckily today my dad is about 200 pounds lighter, so he's in the 230s. My 2 sisters, my niece, my mom, they're morbidly obese. So is there a genetic component to it? Maybe. But I definitely, with my examples that I shared, I ate a lot. Back to my journey. Here comes the hippie part a little bit. So here it comes. So in 1992, at the age of 23, just before I took that road trip, I was in a hospital for a respiratory infection. It was senior year in college. I took prednisone, an oral steroid, for 3 weeks. That changed the course of my life. I was smoking at the time too, so it's hard to tell if that was the reason why I wound up in the hospital. But regardless, I have asthma, which is really dumb, but I did it. Anyway, I took lots of asthma medications as a kid. The doctors, the medical doctors, even to this day, don't know what, or couldn't figure out what caused the damage to my hips, which I discovered 4 years later in 1996. Or 97, sorry, 5 years later. What is a fact is I can't deny it. My body changed a lot after taking prednisone. It took, again, 5 years, but in 1997, I went to the doctor for a groin pull that never went away. My legs were tight. I would wake up walking like a penguin before I could loosen up for the day. And so I went to the doctor for my groin, not my hips. And I soon found out my legs were compensating for the destruction of my hip socket. I never felt pain in my hips, but I had what was called avascular necrosis, or AVN for short. Basically, it means no blood flow to the hip socket. My hips were dying. No blood flow, no life. I vividly remember the first doctor asking me whether I remembered Bo Jackson, the 80s and 90s dual baseball and football player, before Deion Sanders. His leg contorted on the football field during a tackle in such a way that it compressed his hip socket and stopped the blood flow. It killed his hip socket. The only option for him after therapy was to have a hip replacement on that leg. Well, for me, it was both hips, left and right. On a scale of 0 to 4, I was at a 4 already. Basically, anytime I was ready, I could have a hip replacement when the pain was too much on both legs. You know, it's pretty bad when the insurance companies don't fight a 28-year-old man getting hip replacements back in the 90s. Well, I waited a year until I had the right hip done in 98, and then 2002 I had the left hip done. The right hip was revised when I was 39 in 2009. The left one is still going strong 23 years later in 2025. So I think this is a good stopping point, I think. I found out how bad my hips were when I was 27 years old. I had tipped the scales at 248. I'm 5'11", never quite making it to 6 foot. I didn't know at the time of that diagnosis, the AVN or avascular necrosis diagnosis, how that would change the course of my life. Now I hope you are starting to connect the hippie part of my channel to the fit part. And next time I'll dive into how I became physically fit, because I definitely wasn't. And that motivation and catalyst for that diagnosis in 1997, how it changed my life. I lost 50 pounds from 1997 to 1998 before I had that surgery. And I went in for the surgery, I don't know, 190-ish maybe. And again, it changed my life. So next time for video episode 3, we will definitely check that out and dive deeper into the physical journey. So now as we wrap up for this episode, remember the Spotify podcast, Fit Hippie Dad. And I also have a website, which I would like to make sure that you are aware of, fithippiedad.com. So, yeah, please come back next time. And I always like to, my plan is to end every video or a podcast like this. Until next time, thank you for being here, and God bless.